Hi, this is Ron from Surfcaster's Journal, and in this segment we're going to look at duplicators and templates. Chances are, if you're a plug builder, you're not going to build plugs just for yourself. Eventually, when you come up with a good one, all your fishing buddies are going to want one, and you're going to get to the point where you're going to have to go back and try to recreate one of the plugs that you've already made that you've had success with. Or you may want to try to make a brand new design, and once you get that done, you're going to want to be able to recreate it. Consistency is the key in plug building. We're dealing with an inconsistent substance in wood, so that even if you have an identical shape, the wood might be slightly denser in one area than another. So we've already got some variation built in. We're going to want to keep everything else as tight as possible. For me, and for a lot of other people, that means using a duplicator. I like to make templates and start from there. For my own plug building, everything starts with graph paper. I like to draw the plug out on the graph paper, and then from there I'll transfer it to a template. I use some 1/4 inch plexiglass or Lexan for my templates because they last a long time. As the stylus is riding against it, it doesn't wear out like some wood or softer material. And as you can see here, I have a Danny template, and you can see that the graph paper is spray adhesive used to glue it right on there. And this is what I use to actually cut my template out. As I'm working with the template, what I'll do is I'll get it close to where I want it to start, and then I'll build a plug. I'll measure the plug. If the plug is not exactly how I want it, I'll go back to the template and I'll start shaving areas off the template to make it thinner or wider or whatever I want to do. But I always work from the template out. Once I have a plug that is exactly how I like it, I'll take that plug off the lathe, I'll mark it as my template, and I'll keep that aside. And that'll allow me to, using the same template, go back to chuck that plug into the lathe, adjust my tool to it, and then I know I can make exact copies at will. Okay, using graph paper, I'll always start with, I'll select a line, and I will, I'll draw a center line on my graph paper. I'm always starting with that. Now, if I have a plug that I like, I've already made it, or I have a favorite plug that I'm using, and I want to copy that, a plug that's already in existence, I have a couple of different ways I can do that. I can measure the plug. In this case, I have a Danny here, and this plug is 6 inches long. So what I'm going to do is I'll mark off 6 inches on my graph paper. I'll have a start and an end, and I'm just marking off where the length of the plug. So now I have 2 marks on my graph paper, and now I can take a measurement of how wide across it is. This particular one is 7/8 of an inch. So on a template, I'm only using half of that. So I'm going to have to take half of 7/8, which is 7/16, and I'll mark out 7/16 right here. The back of the plug is approximately, it looks like we're talking about 5/8 here. So again, I'll come over here and I'll take 5/16 and I'll mark that as the bottom or the back of the plug. And now what I need to do is I need to either draw in that contour, or if in the case of having an existing plug, I can use a contour gauge. And what I can do is I can literally press this contour gauge against the plug to get the shape. This contour gauge happens to be exactly 6 inches long, so this works perfect for this plug. Now that I have the shape pressed into the contour gauge, I can come back to the marks that I made on the template, on the graph paper, and I can literally trace them in. And this will get me close to a start. At this point in time, I have the plug drawn on the graph paper, and now all I need to do is cut this out and glue it to my template material. After it's glued to the template material, I can then cut this shape out on the bandsaw and then fine-tune it with some filing or sanding. What happens is this comes in, the stylus here comes in, and it has to it contacts the template, but you have to have it adjusted so that it doesn't make the Danny too thick or too thin. So you undo this, so like this will move in and out. I always start a little bit bigger, because you can always make it smaller, you can't make it bigger. And now it's adjusted. These pieces here, in between the template, I set up so that I don't go crashing the carbide tooling into the tailstock.